Hey, everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, January 17th, 2021. Now, here I was, all geared up for a Y&R B&B mega episode binge week, but we just saw one short scene of Summer calling Wyatt Spencer of Spencer Publications, and one scene of Summer and Kyle meeting with Wyatt in the little outdoor cafe, which is the main restaurant on The Bold and the Beautiful. So that part was pretty cool to see Y&R characters fully incorporated into the casual dining atmosphere of The Bold and the Beautiful. And Summer, of course, oh so casually tossed Sally Spectra's name onto the wind to try to catch Wyatt's reaction. And although Summer hasn't learned yet what it is, the big secret is that Sally's keeping, why Wyatt had the reaction that he did, we as viewers are promised that that secret will be coming out before Summer and Kyle leave LA. And spoiler alert, the secret that we are going to find out is that Sally faked having a deathly illness in order to try to get Wyatt to stay with her and also to keep Wyatt away from the girl that he wanted to be with, Flo. I think we're going to meet Flo next week. So, while I think this crossover was a little lackluster for week one, I think it was mostly because there was a lack of information on how it would work. The promos got me all pumped up for it, but they didn't tell me anything else. I guess the next two crossover scenes are going to be on The Bold and the Beautiful, Monday and Tuesday. And then the final crossover scene, we're coming back to Y&R on Thursday. So if you want to see the full crossover, you'll want to watch The Bold and the Beautiful on Monday and Tuesday, and then watch Y&R on Thursday. Silly me. I watched every episode of The Bold and the Beautiful all week, waiting to see if Summer and Kyle were going to follow up on their journey there. And that's fine. I was kind of planning on keeping an ear on The Bold and the Beautiful anyway, because there is some good baby daddy drama going on right now. Maybe Y&R and Bold and the Beautiful knew that, and they wanted to try to make sure that they coincided some pretty peak storyline with this crossover with Y&R. So I still watched the Bold and the Beautiful episodes, still enjoyed the Bold and the Beautiful episodes, and even if the promo around this was a little lacking, I still think it's so fantastic and so overdue. Last week, I asked you guys how many of you watch The Bold and the Beautiful. I asked you specifically how often you watch The Bold and the Beautiful. 32% of Y&R chatters voted that they've never really watched The Bold and the Beautiful. So to me, that says that 32% of people have been watching Sally on The Young and the Restless for over a month now, wondering who this chick is and what all the fuss is about. 15% of you used to watch The Bold and the Beautiful in the past, but you don't watch it now. And 11% of you sometimes tune in, just very casual viewers. So 43% of you are daily watchers, but I feel like all of the other votes are kind of in a category together. 43% of you watch daily, 57% of you don't. So to me that says that half of the Y&R viewership needs a clue in as to why Sally is so dangerous and why Summer is so obsessed with finding out more about her, finding out what she's hiding. Come on, if Sally is willing to fake a deathly illness to get what she wants, I'd say that's cause for concern for anyone coming in to her orbit. Especially Summer. Especially Summer, if Summer has something that Sally wants. Lauren has been cued in to this whole rivalry, and Lauren came up with the great idea to give Sally a design project to focus on. A way to give Sally something to do that's not related to Summer. But how could Sally not be focused on Summer, knowing that Summer is about to drag her past, kicking and screaming all the way into the present? Oh yes, Sally gave Jack the Jessica Rabbit this week. I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way. I'm not a bad person. I've just made some bad decisions. Well then, come right in, Sally Spectra. You're in good company. Even the great and powerful Nikki Newman pretended to be dying to keep Victor and to keep Ashley away from Victor. Stranded on the Chatterbox jet in the middle of a snowstorm, Lily jokingly suggests that they should pass time with a round of truth or dare. A little Lily, Billy, Kyle, Summer truth or dare session. Well, I would say that Lily got her dose of truth this week. Lily and Kyle are sleeping, taking a little nappy nap, when Lily wakes up and hears the tail end of Billy apologizing from the bottom of his heart for what happened between he and Summer. From the bottom of his heart, he's sorry. Honestly, now that I think about it, and now that I've watched those scenes and processed them, I think that the incident between Summer and Billy, it honestly probably was the beginning of me developing a strong distaste for Billy. That's when Billy started being bad and not in a good way. He was always a lovable screw-up when he was with Victoria, and he was a lovable bad boy when he was with Phyllis, but everything after that incident with Summer made Billy no longer lovable to me. He just became the bad boy screw-up with none of the lovable qualities that I used to find appealing about the character. Billy sleeping with Phyllis's daughter, Summer, to get back at Phyllis for sleeping with Summer's dad, Nick. I mean, it's next level gross. And it took Billy 2 years to get around to apologizing to Summer and clearing the air. They both played a part in what ended up happening, but just last Christmas, Summer was turning up her nose at the Abbott family gathering, and rather than clearing the air then, Billy chose to clear the air now. I can't believe it's taken this long, but I'm glad it happened. After all this time, I'm glad the air got cleared. And I would really love for this truth coming out, this revelation, and this new relationship with Lily to now be the beginning of me loving Billy again, for him getting back some of those lovable qualities and turning me into a big Billy booster. I think Billy has got all the right stuff, and I'd like to see him use it. I like that Lily is helping Billy to see himself more clearly. Sometimes that's what you need, to look at yourself through someone else's eyes. And that seems to be the only way that Billy's ever really able to see himself. But having this information about Summer and what Billy's past was really like, it gave Lily some pause as to what kind of man she's getting involved with. And I was totally impressed with Lily clocking Billy's behavior, not only with Summer, but relating it to the same behavior that led him to go visit her in prison to tattle on Kane and Victoria, which resulted in the end of her relationship. She says to Billy that it's the same behavior over and over again. She also related it to his relentless pursuit of Adam. He just goes through these phases of blazing down a trail of destruction, whether it's hurting himself and or someone else, and then he turns around and wonders why no one respects him. Lily gave him that truth, and he seemed to hear it. He seemed to absorb it. I can only hope that the changes that I am seeing in Billy now are holistic. I want to believe they're from the root, and that he's not just saying things and doing things to impress Lily, because it does nag at me the way that Billy is always so quick to compliment Lily. And in the scene in the plane where they were talking it all out, they were exchanging criticisms of each other, and Lily had some very real, very viable criticisms of Billy, and then his criticisms of her in return kind of amounted to, well, Lily, you're just too perfect. Really? See, Billy's charm is so conditional. When he shines that light on you and you're the center of his universe, it feels so warm and so special. But then when that light fades away from you and now Billy's light is shining onto someone else, it feels so cold and so lonely. And that is what Victoria is feeling right now. I don't even think that Victoria wants him back. I just think that Victoria doesn't like Billy's attention being placed somewhere else. She doesn't like Billy's light being shown on someone else. Nikki stopped by Victoria's office this week to encourage her to take a break. She's running the company, she's working these really long hours, and she's still the primary caretaker of the two kids. The two kids live with her. While, in Nikki's opinion, Billy skates around freely with his new girlfriend and only has limited responsibility with the kids. Very valid point by Nikki, and yet I couldn't help noticing that Victoria was pretty quick to defend Billy. And she also tells Nikki that she doesn't need a break. If she wants something, she goes and she gets it. If she wants something, she goes and gets it. And then Victoria promptly turns around and sets up that little scheduling oopsie with Billy. She asks him to take the kids to an event, saying that she can't be there, she has to work. Billy breaks a date with Lily to do it, and then Victoria shows up saying that her meeting was canceled and now they can all go together like a family. You used to like surprises, Victoria said. Oh, you used to like surprises like me. So Victoria's trying to figure out here what it is that Billy wants, what it is that he likes now. It's suspicious. And Billy's onto it, no doubt about it. Billy is giving Victoria the benefit of the doubt per occasion, but he's onto it. I think that Victoria is a little unhinged, and I think that Billy recognizes it. That makes me wonder if Billy is going to use this newfound self-awareness that he's gotten from Lily and now turn around and help Victoria. Maybe to help guide Victoria the way she's done for him for so many years. Abby's fertility fears are getting worse. This week, she had some morning sickness, got a little excited about it, but then takes 2 negative pregnancy tests and has this haunting dream that seems to suggest something is wrong. So she and Chance to meet separately with a fertility doctor. You know, maybe that Newman name can throw open a few doors at the Victor Newman fertility wing of the hospital. Maybe we can get some answers that way. But the doctor gives her an exam, discovers that she has some excess scar tissue from the previous miscarriage that she had, and the doctor suggests that that could be a reason why she's having trouble conceiving, and that maybe she should have a procedure to have it removed. Now, here's where I can jump on board with this story and have something to offer because I can relate. I'm not saying that this is true for everyone, but for me, and with my experience with women's health and gynecologists, all before and all after my pregnancy, there is always some kind of procedure that the doctor will suggest. There is always another test, and then there's always another procedure after that. I have been poked and prodded with a group of medical students in the room staring at me, and oh boy, do they love tests and procedures. It's like their favorite thing to do. My OBGYN made me feel like a freak toward the end of my pregnancy with all of the tests and all of the procedures, and all it did was give me unnecessary stress and anxiety when I knew in my gut that everything was fine. I didn't want to go against what was being suggested to me. I was going along with everything, but in my gut, I was thinking, this is ridiculous. This is too much. So I'm not surprised that Abby has more anxiety after going to the doctor. Like I said, that's just my experience. I'm not trying to speak for anyone else. I'm sure there are a lot of people who legitimately need more tests and more procedures. I had absolutely nothing in my background that would suggest I needed anything, and absolutely nothing wrong. It was just more tests, more procedures, more anxiety. And Abby's anxiety about not having a baby started 1 week after the honeymoon. 2 months off birth control, and I wish that there was a voice, a medical voice, saying, maybe you could relax a little bit. Maybe you could wait a little while. I know you're in a hurry, but maybe just try to relax. Do some yoga, do some teas, something other than having a procedure. Why's it gotta jump to this procedure for Abby so quickly? How about just not jumping to the worst case scenario right away? How about that? Y&R needs to slow this story up. If they would slow it up and have put some time on Abby having trouble conceiving, I'd be having a totally different reaction, but that's not what it is. She's let no time go by, and I think that this is an opportunity that Y&R's kind of missing. Like, there's so much opportunity here to dig in to Abby's issues and a real fertility issue. It's just happening so fast though, because I feel like Abby's story is so relatable for so many women and for so many couples. Fertility problems are common. Fertility treatments are expensive and stressful. Adoption processes are expensive and stressful too. But what concerns me is that rather than telling a story about that, Abby is creating her own issue by not being patient. I thought that Mariah and Tessa's impromptu dance party was really fun though. That was the good part. That was light and fun. I think that Tessa is so much dorky fun. I wish she would stop by more often. Not for drama, just for her dance moves. Oh, because Abby needed some cheering up. She needed a distraction. I get stuck in my own head too. Believe me, I am identifying with everything that Abby's thinking. I think we all get stuck in our heads sometimes. And it's great that Abby has someone like Mariah who can pull her out of it and who can potentially be a surrogate for her. Plot, plot, plot. That's what it's all about. Just plot, plot, plot. Lola showed up at the dance party, and after Abby left, Lola asked Mariah and Tessa if they had ever considered having kids, and both Mariah and Tessa seemed absolutely flabbergasted by the question. I'm surprised that Mariah and Tessa have never talked about it before at all. I mean, they're practically married. They spend a lot of time together, but I don't know, maybe it's because Tessa's gone so often. It would be perhaps hard to raise a child together, but a lot of couples have a parent who travels a lot for work, so it could be done. It's also possible, of course, that our surrogate speculation here is just another famous Y&R red herring, because judging from the previews for next week, Abby is definitely going to get some bad news from her doctor, probably that she's unable to conceive. I'm sure it'll be something that seems so final, because she was saying, the one thing I want, I can't have. So the doctor's probably going to tell her that she can never have another baby. And knowing Abby, she's probably going to look into surrogacy or adoption right away. I have a feeling that this story is intended to, at least on some level, mirror Melissa Ordway's own experience in having her baby, because Melissa and Justin, from what I understand, had trouble conceiving, and so she adopted an adorable little baby girl, and then a few months later, literally a few months later, got pregnant. Imagine that. The doctors, the tests, the procedures were wrong. She got pregnant. Miracle baby. I think that's what's going to happen to Abby. I think it's the same thing. It was foreshadowed by Victoria talking to Abby about her miracle baby, Katie. Now, if this storyline is meant to mirror Melissa Ordway's real life experience, if I were Danny Bowes, I would be worried. A lot of fans were really digging Melissa's husband, Justin, in the role of Chance. So if I were Danny, I think I would be afraid that Y&R had plans to give me the boot and turn this into the Melissa and Justin show. Faith sees Adam at the coffee house for his morning espresso. You know, dark and bitter, just like him. I have no doubt that that's how Adam takes his coffee. Dark and bitter. Which, by the way, is how I take my coffee, too. While I appreciate Adam patroning a small business instead of the local Genoa City Starbucks, I think it might be time for him to find another spot for coffee. Faith's mom owns the place. Faith is there all the time. Faith sees Adam and flips out again, tells him to get out of town, and to be fair, if Adam had kidnapped me, I would want him to get out of town too. That, or I would marry him. One or the other. Adam's kidnapping victims either want him to get out of town or they want to marry him. There's just no two ways about it. Those are the two reactions you can have to Adam. Love or hate. But coupling Faith's incident with Adam with more bully texts, Faith turns around and turns to Jordan saying that she needs a friend. But Jordan is not a real friend. I'm starting to agree with the chatter. I can't remember who it was who suggested that Jordan is also behind the bullying. I wonder if Jordan is creating the problem so that she can offer the solution, like a little Psycho in the making. You know, Faith could be turning to Mariah. Mariah's always there. So why isn't Faith turning to Mariah? That's my question. I mean, maybe it's because Faith wants to be around someone who's treating her like an adult. Drinking is an adult activity. Maybe that's what the appeal of Jordan is. She feels like an adult when she's with her. I mean, Mariah and the rest of the family, it's always smoothies and brownies and placate her. That's what the vibe is between Faith and the rest of her family. Smoothies, brownies, go away. Faith even used the brownie as an excuse this week to get Mariah off her back. She said to Mariah, "Gee, I sure could use one of my favorite brownies right about now." And then Mariah buzzed off to the kitchen to get her a brownie, and Faith was texting with Jordan. Oh. Well, when Sharon got home from her honeymoon, she picks up right away on the fact that something is wrong with Faith. Something's wrong with Faith that brownies cannot solve. So Sharon tells Nick that she thinks Faith could use some professional counseling. Faith has been through a lot this year if you really boil it all down. And they start discussing Faith and what might help her. And of course, Faith, standing in the stairwell, overhears the whole thing and then decides to double down on Jordan in multiple ways, multiple incidents, telling Jordan more than once that she wants to do more partying and they're just going to have to be more careful now. Is this bordering on unrealistic for anyone else? Would the thought of counseling immediately make Faith want to party more? Like, oh no, my parents want to give me counseling, so I want to party more. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's an escapism thing that she's thinking, but I would imagine that she would be thinking instead and more realistically about running away. I would almost think that Faith would think, I just gotta get out of here. I just gotta get out of this family or go back to the Swiss boarding school or whatever. Or dropping the fake nice act that she's been giving to everyone. It's not working anymore. Everyone's starting to catch on to her. I would almost expect Faith to, instead of like doubling down on Jordan, just like turn up the volume on the teen attitude and let it rip. Even after Faith freaked out, Adam showed back up at the coffee house a second time. Did he at least look around the corners to make sure that Faith wasn't there? Because if I were Adam, I would definitely want to dodge Faith forever. I am still not convinced that Faith wasn't the one who tried to shoot him. That's gonna take some time. But this time, Adam just ran into Sharon, Ray, and Chance, none of whom really know what to say to Adam. I think that Ray and Chance kind of feel like, well, we don't really like the guy, we don't really trust the guy, but we also don't really wish anything bad on him either. And we certainly don't wish anything bad on Chelsea. But Sharon's a special case. Sharon, on the other hand, does really like the guy. She knows that he's alone in this world dealing with this tragedy. Chelsea's physical therapy appointments have not been easy. She is struggling to make progress. Adam invited Chloe to spend some time with Chelsea. That was an unexpected twist. Adam is often kinder to Chloe than Chloe is to Adam. But Adam's goal is to continue to try to give Chelsea some hope. But who's giving hope to him? Who's giving Adam the hope? Who's giving Adam the hand? I want it to be Victor. Victor continues to do the right thing by reaching out to Adam, making himself available to Adam, despite the rest of his family's opinion, of course. And of course, when Sharon gets back from her honeymoon, she cannot help her big heart from reaching out to Adam too. You know, Sharon's big heart. That Adam has been inside more than once. Sharon has got one of the biggest hearts I've ever seen. And next week in the previews, Adam is sending Sharon flowers? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark again? I think that is so totally bold and so totally inappropriate. Sending flowers to another man's wife when she's your ex-wife? And when the whole rest of the household hates you? Adam's got nerve. I am sure that Ray is going to throw those flowers right into a vase of water. I mean, right into the trash. Ray is going to file those flowers right into the trash. Come on, Adam. We have got teen hormones raging through this household. Better not let Faith catch a whiff on the wind of Adam's flowers. Better not let Faith smell any whiff of Adam's flowers on the air. Because you never know. You never know. Aunt Victoria might have another one of Billy's guns stashed in the back of her closet. Naya agrees to come to Genoa City to tell her story, but it was really only to get Amanda to stop making a scene on her doorstep. And when Amanda finally gets the chance to sit down in her hotel room with Naya to get the answers that she's been waiting for her whole life, Naya brought new meaning to the phrase, brutally honest. It was not pretty. I mean, Naya started out by saying, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the right words. But then she blurts out, you were a mistake. Would you mind trying again to try to find some right words? Wrong, try again. That set the whole rest of the tone for the conversation. A mistake? You were a mistake? Why would you say that to someone? Anyone. Let alone your own daughter, who you were responsible for. It's just so thoughtless and inconsiderate on a human level. It was apathetic even. I'm shocked because I was really hoping and predicting that Naya would have some heart to go along with her story. But here's the story. Naya came from a conservative, religious family. She got pregnant in college out of wedlock. Her family was completely disappointed in her, arranged for her to have the babies, but then to give them away immediately. Naya never even saw them, never held them, didn't ask any questions. Her parents pretty much handled everything, and she admitted to Amanda that she was relieved when it was all over. She was relieved that she could just go on with her life. End of story. Brutal. Naya really didn't even have any other details about the who's and the whys. The only other thing that she could offer was the fact that Amanda and Hillary's father died in a car accident, just like Hillary. And Amanda had to be the one to tell Naya that Hillary had died in a car accident. And then Amanda watched the reaction that sprawled across Naya's face. And that piece of news, hearing that piece of news, seemed almost to be the one moment where Naya seemed remorseful. The one moment where she seemed kind of human. Because other than that, Naya seemed so stone-hearted. I know that this was forced upon her. I know that she wasn't emotionally prepared to have to answer to something that happened so long ago, but she's had all these years to think about it. She's had all these years to process it. And to have such an inhuman reaction, Amanda was pissed. She was way pissed. It was too much honesty for her in not a nice way, in anything but a motherly way. And maybe that was Naya's intention. Maybe Naya didn't want to do anything to give Amanda any kind of false hope. But I think that if Naya had shown even a few small shreds of regret or even empathy for what Amanda and Hillary went through, as humans, doesn't take the daughter part out of it. Like, have some empathy for two people who had to go through what Amanda and Hillary went through. I think that if Naya had shown any empathy at all, I really think that conversation would have gone differently. I think things would have ended differently. Because it was obvious to me that Amanda wanted more I'm sorry's. She wanted a more meaningful I'm sorry. Or she wanted Naya to say, I wish things were different. But maybe that's not true for Naya. Maybe Naya doesn't wish anything was different. Things worked out exactly the way Naya wanted them to. Like Hillary and Amanda never happened. Ugh. Imani showed up, interrupted the whole conversation, and Naya's tone, as if it were even possible, went from cold to frozen. If you thought she couldn't get any colder, when Imani showed up, it went to frozen. And Naya put all of her energies toward doing damage control with Imani. And I thought it was interesting, though, that Amanda called Imani later Naya's real daughter. Because that's kind of the vibe that I got. Like, maybe Naya would have had brought the conversation to a different place at a different point if Imani hadn't showed up. But then the second her real daughter showed up, then it was goodbye anything having to do with her past. Hello, Imani, and Imani only. And then they both left after that. I don't know what to think. It so did not go the way that I expected. It went worst case scenario, like Amanda feared. And I don't know how much more we're going to be seeing of Naya and or Imani. My question for you guys for this week for our poll question is, do you want to see more of Naya and Imani? They're a package deal. They definitely are close. They definitely come together. Do you want to see more of these two characters on the show? YRChat.com. That's where you can vote in the poll question. I think I do want to see more of Naya and Imani. As far as I know, though, they're both on recurring status. I didn't get any indication that they've become full cast members. I think, though, that that's really smart on Y&R's part. I think that they need to continue to reserve part of the casting budget for recurring characters who can come in and challenge our main cast, but not necessarily bring everyone on full contract so that we've just got this huge, huge cast and don't know what we're going to do with them. But I do wonder if Naya and Imani were ever meant to be long-term challenges for Amanda, or if they were just meant to be a short-term challenge to cause Amanda and Devon to grow closer. I mean, Amanda, of course, after this conversation with Naya, went immediately to Devon, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I just love those two together. I love Devon and Amanda. I love Devon and Hillary. Whatever. Whoever. I think they have good on-screen chemistry. I want one of Devon's famous omelets. Just saying. And side note, could not help noticing the lack of social distance between Devon and Amanda this week. They weren't locking lips, but they certainly weren't 6 feet apart either. They were strolling around the apartment, very close to each other. Everybody's a little closer now. Oh, and emotionally, Devon and Amanda are closer. I was really impressed with what Devon had to say to Amanda. A lot of times when someone is upset, they just want someone to listen to them and to agree with them. But Devon did a remarkable job of guiding that conversation away from Amanda's anger and betrayal. I mean, all Amanda ever wanted was a mother. Imani had that. Hillary had that. Amanda's the only one who didn't have that. It's so empathetic. It's so, like, I just understand where she's coming from so much, and I understand also her anger about how that conversation with Naya went down. But then Devon was so elevated in his response, asking Amanda, well, what kind of relationship do you want to have with Naya now? Like, he pulled that whole thing out of the gutter, out of Amanda's anger, and said, well, what kind of relationship do you want to have with her now? That's pretty bold. I mean, he was talking about his journey toward finding Tucker and Catherine, and how he was able to position Tucker and Catherine into his life despite the fact that he already had a family with the Winters. And I think that's exactly what Amanda needed to hear. The anger wasn't serving her. It's justified, but it wasn't serving her. And I just really liked the way Devon handled that conversation. She does need to think about what she wants from Naya now. The Pandora's box has been opened. There is no going back. There is a relationship now, and it's known to all, like it or not. And I liked that Devon's advice seemed to be guiding Amanda toward moving that relationship to a healthier place. But then the restraining order showed up. Ugh. Like a dagger in an open wound. Imani had Amanda served with a restraining order to keep her away from Naya, to keep her away from them and their family, to bury Amanda's existence like a shameful secret, bury it even deeper. And Naya didn't even do anything except send a text distancing herself a little bit from Imani's action, but not really doing anything to fix it or not doing anything about it. It's clear to me that Imani's the one calling the shots here. Like, Imani is the dominant personality in that household and in that family. Maybe Naya is just a go-along kind of person. She went along with her parents when she was a young woman, and she just did what it was that her parents were telling her to do. And now she's doing the same thing. She's just going along with what Imani is telling her to do. I am so glad that Devon and Nate had the interaction that I was craving last week. Okay, maybe it didn't go quite as well as it could have, but Devon and Nate, whether they're friends or rivals, need to be front and center on this show. They're like two brothers. And since they're not brothers, they can totally fight over the same woman, and it's a lot more acceptable. No problem at all. I like Devon and Nate. I want to see more of them. This week, Devon was passing along a message from Sophia to Nate, because it sounds like Moses is a teenager now. Moses is all SORAS'd up now. He's 16 years old, and he is interested in going to medical school. So Sophia thought sending Moses to Genoa City, not only to be mentored by Nate, but also to be around his father's family, would be really good for him right now. Ooh, yes. New son of Neil Winters. Well, not new, but the son of Neil Winters coming onto the show. I mean, I guess that's presumptuous of me. Is Moses actually going to be cast? Maybe he'll be in that reoccurring role bucket of funds, of budget for them. I don't know. Or maybe we won't see him at all. If we do see him, it probably would be short term. There's not a whole lot of other teenagers on the show right now except for Faith. Faith would be around Moses' age if he is indeed 16 years old, as they say. So, hey, what if teen Moses interacts with teen Faith? I wonder if Moses would be a good influence or a bad influence on Faith. I don't know. I kind of love the idea, though. Because also it would put, it would put Nate and Devon back into Nick's world. Phyllis sure is taking all kinds of credit for taking the high road when the high road was forced upon her because Kevin blocked the low road. Phyllis would have taken the low road, no problemo. And yet she's now floating around town talking about, oh, she's a changed woman. She's all about doing right and rising from the ashes like the grand phoenix that she is. But early in the week, Phyllis was calling Kevin to her hotel room for a follow-up meeting to discuss how they were totally going to blackmail Victoria with this information about the embezzling executive. But it was Kevin who cut Phyllis off at the knees, tells Phyllis that he destroyed Gloria's flash drive, and tells her to just be better, do better. Encourages her to stay on the right path to rise from those ashes. And yeah, that's a very nice and very right thing to do. But it's also very boring and very anticlimactic. Please tell me that there is going to be more to that story. Next week in the previews, whoa, Gloria is already back in town. I figured we were going to have to wait a little longer to see her, but Gloria's coming back next week. Ooh, that's all the reason for me to tune in next week. Please tell me that Gloria has a backup flash drive stashed away in somebody else's mansion too. Or that maybe Kevin only told Phyllis that he destroyed the evidence because he has some other kind of plans for it. You know, Kyle is probably one of my favorite characters to poke fun at. There's just something about Kyle that he's asking for it. I love to make fun of Kyle. Last week, I asked you guys who said this quote, "I am all for less clothes." And the answer was Kyle. Partly, I was trying to fool you because I figured on the week where we saw Nate very shirtless, you would assume that I was going to pick that line because of Nate, but no, it was Kyle. I also, for some reason lately, have been reminded of Kyle when he first came back into Genoa City as this actor, Michael Mueller. He did the Jabot birthday suit stunt where he jumped into the pool and then his trunks conveniently floated away and he was on camera totally nude with a hashtag no tan lines temporary tattoo on his on his nether areas. We do know indeed that Kyle is all for less clothes, and I thought that was going to be a less easy quote, but a lot of people got it, so congratulations, Sandra, Henry, Jamie, Julie, Victoria, Nancy, Keisha, Daisy, TB84, Kamna, Teresa, and Diana. You guys all guessed that one right. Here's another fun one. I just liked this quote. Who said it? "Don't fight the insanity, join it." That's great. Don't fight the insanity, join it. I think that could be a tagline for Y&R, right? Well, if you think you know who said it, you should go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. Oh, and at yrchat.com, I got some really excellent comments this week. Let's start out with Sharon commenting on Amanda's situation. Sharon said, "It cuts really deep to be told that you were a mistake. If this is the true story, then Naya actively had sex and got pregnant. Did she not know how babies were made? This religious piety makes me want to scream." Yeah, Sherrod. Moral piety makes me want to scream. It's not limited to religiousness, I would say, although that certainly is what happened in Naya's instance. But I found that to be a very interesting and realistic facet of Naya's story. Probably because it seemed very true to life. It's probably truer to life for Naya's generation and also from the vantage point of Naya's parents' generation. A pregnancy out of wedlock was seen as shameful and therefore hidden. It's not a new concept. The acceptance of sex and pregnancy out of wedlock is a newer concept than the action of shaming it. But I thought that was a very interesting moment for Naya and who knows, maybe relatable to some folks out there. Sandra says, "Well, now that Naya knows Amanda is alive and has looked into the eyes of her lost daughter, she will not be able to stay away. A mother's instinct is to be with their child, even if that child is a grown adult. Naya and Amanda will become closer, and Amanda's heart will be full of the love she so surely and richly deserves. That's my wish, at least. I feel like there's more here too, but I'm always saying that like a broken record. I think there's more to the story. I do, though, agree with you, Sandra. There was something in Naya that perhaps got broken open a little bit. Like maybe Amanda and just her humanity cracked through some of the ice a little bit. And if Imani hadn't shown up, then who knows? Maybe more would have happened. And maybe now more will happen. Who knows? Gary says Michelle Morgan is such a nice actress. All her scenes as she dealt with her mother were compelling, as she chose just the right words to say to her in getting what she wanted, which was a story. Very heartfelt. Amanda is a balanced person and will have the inner fortitude for what's ahead. I think so too. I like Amanda. I think Amanda is more likable than Hillary, and I think Michelle Morgan did such a phenomenal job this past week especially. But Gary makes an interesting point here by saying Y&R has chosen to further cut off Amanda's options with a dead father. Do they not perceive wanting to use him at a later date? I was surprised by that too. I thought to myself, well, why would they make Amanda's father dead? But Victoria says, I have a feeling we're going to hear more about Naya's story and about Amanda's father. I think that Naya isn't telling the truth. Ooh, so Naya could be protecting someone who is, who knows, equally as powerful. Amanda didn't really ask her father's name. I think she would want to get that information so that she could do some independent research. But as it is now, you're absolutely right, Victoria. Naya could be lying. Well, Robbie says, I really like Imani. I wonder if she'll stick around. You know, I think I like the idea of Imani. I don't feel immediately wowed by the actress. I felt immediately wowed by the Naya actress, though. Even though Naya's less likable than Imani, in my opinion, at this point for her character, I like the actress quite a lot. I think she could have some potential. I mean, the way she was given face, that stone face even said a lot. I mean, there was something about her that drew me in. I wanted to know her the first time I saw her. Imani, I like the idea of Amanda having a sister, but there were a couple of moments where I thought, I'm not seeing anything really special about Imani yet, but it's only been a couple of short scenes, so that could be coming. I think it's certainly possible, Robbie. You might get your wish. Well, let's switch topics here and talk a little bit about Billy and Lily. Kamna says, if Ray and Sharon were the couple of 2020 for me, then 2021 belongs to Billy and Lily. I love these two. The goofy, romantic smiles, the humor, the honesty, the maturity. More, please. I'm enjoying them too. Diana says, I really enjoyed the scenes on the Chabot jet with Kyle, Summer, Billy, and Lily. It's always exciting when we get to see a set that we don't see often, and it's also as refreshing when we didn't see these four characters interacting together. Yeah, I do like that. A new set, and when we get to see people interacting who don't normally interact. The plane had some really cool lighting. Lily looked especially beautiful on the plane. I don't know how that's possible. Lily looks better on the plane than in an office building, and she already looks beautiful in the office building. So yeah, I thought the lighting was really shadowy and warm and kind of dim, just like you would expect a private jet to be. But I will say, being on the private jet was starting to make me feel a little claustrophobic. I was ready to get off of it when we did. Victoria says, The writers did a nice job having Billy apologize for callously using Summer. The plot device of Lily overhearing and then Billy telling her the truth set Billy's transformation into a more caring character solidly in place. Billy accepting his responsibility for this act gives me hope that Billy is becoming a more multi-dimensional character. Same, Victoria, same. Well, Astra says, instead of being so concerned over the Summer thing with Billy, Lily should be getting clarity on whether Billy and Amanda slept together. I guess the only reason Victoria brought that up was because she was trying to low-key sabotage Billy and Lily's relationship. I don't know if it'll ever come up again since they are moving Amanda more in Devon's direction. My question exactly, Astra. I don't know why Y&R bothered to have Victoria mention Billy and Amanda's affair, the affair that Victoria thinks they were having. I don't know why Y&R would mention that and then not have Lily follow up on it. Maybe Lily just accepts it. Lily seems to accept Billy's evolution. Lily seems to be taking Billy for face value of who he is now, as opposed to putting too much stock about who he was in the past. And on that note, there was a lengthy but very good conversation happening at the website this week, and it was started by Gary. So I thought I'd read some of the conversations specifically about Billy's character and who Billy is. There's a lot of good stuff here. Gary says, one of the things that bugs me about Billy is the way he's always pushing himself to be accepted by others. Always rationalizing his past and expecting to be appreciated for it. Like, quote, I'm not the same person anymore. For example, when he learns that Lily overheard part of his conversation with Summer where he apologizes to her, he decides to come clean with Lily as to the whole story. Lily is extremely tentative, and so Billy must push her harder to manipulate her reaction. Rather than let Lily realize this for herself, where she may give Billy points in her own mind, he quickly points up how he didn't have to tell her the truth. He could have lied, but he respects her so much, and given his new way of being, he really wants to tell her everything. Billy is always overselling himself and his mistakes to anyone who will listen. That is a nuance, Gary, that I don't think I ever would have picked up on. Great, great observation. Gary also says the dialogue of the week has Lily unexpectedly bringing up how Billy couldn't wait to race to the prison to tell her how Kane had kissed Victoria. I thought you should know, he says, but Lily knows that that's only a little of the reason. She tells Billy when he's hurt, he wants to strike back, and he gave absolutely no thought to the fact that she, Lily, was struggling in a very different place, trying to keep it together, and that this was the last bit of information she needed to hear. Spot on. I've always wanted to have someone point this up, and since nobody else was going to do it, Lily did it herself. Billy looked so sincere, so contemplative in this scene as he welcomes everyone to shrink him, since this keeps him right where he likes to be, the center of attention. Ooh, gosh, that's so good. And I tell you, I do agree that that was the dialogue of the week. Lily's conversation with Billy really bringing it back to the fact that he brought her the information that ended her last relationship, and now, can you believe it, here she is considering a relationship with him. But oh boy, you shrinked Billy really hard there, and that he loves bringing himself up. He loves talking about himself in his past in a way because it garners him sympathy and keeps him right in the spotlight where he wants to be. Yes, he loves to gobble up that attention from the people around him. And that's what I'm saying. Billy's charm is so conditional. When you are feeding him what he wants, he will give you all of it, all of the charm, all of the light, and it feels so good. But the second you start telling Billy something he doesn't want to hear, you are frozen out. Victoria and Phyllis both have found that out the hard way. Sandra says, yes, Billy does like to be the center of attention. He will never be satisfied with a steady, day-to-day, ordinary life. Billy's pairing with Lily is brilliant in a way, since she will temporarily force Billy into normalcy. He will eventually return to type and blow up what may well be. He will eventually return to type and blow up what may well be the best relationship of his adult life. Ooh, that's a prediction that, if the past is any indication, may very well come true, Sandra. Ellen says Lily was bringing up some hard truths to the table. It's a little hard to believe that she would be so understanding about it all so quickly, though. I was also thinking that Lily is the perfect person to confront Billy at long last about the difference between vehicular manslaughter and an accident. Lily, unfortunately, was the cause of the crash that killed Hillary, and she could have killed her children too. Maybe Lily can finally get Billy to see that Delia died in an accidental death. Ellen, it's too good. Y&R won't do it. Although I will say, the fact that they circled back to Billy and Lily and Kane in the prison, it was unexpectedly good. But this is too good. To have Lily talk to Billy about accidental vehicular manslaughter, it's too good. It won't happen. But that is a good connection to make. I never would have made it, Ellen. You're excellent. Another comment from Ellen here that I thought was interesting about the show in general. Ellen says, I feel like the show has been revamped a bit since the 12,000th episode. Maybe we're moving forward with some new storylines instead of treading water with the same old conversations and tired grudges. But I can't help but be snarky about all of the I'm not that person anymore lines. But it keeps happening. Many characters are getting do-overs. And hey, I'd really be psyched when everyone toasts Adam with champagne and says, no hard feelings, Adam. You're not that person anymore. I'm putting that on my 2021 bingo card. I was not cued into that, Ellen, until you said it. And then when you said it, I couldn't stop hearing it. Everyone is saying that line. I'm just not that person anymore. Let's see. Billy, Summer, Sally, Kevin, Phyllis. They have all echoed that same sentiment just this week. Am I leaving anybody out? Well, here's a nice compliment about the show from Diana. It definitely appears that Y&R is listening to the fans and giving us better stories. We are getting more scenes with the characters having deep conversations, or sometimes casual ones, about their lives. It's nice to see Y&R taking the time to have the characters interacting with one another and talking about their previous experiences in life, and tying these past storylines in with the current ones. Yes, Diana, I noticed that too. I do feel like in the dialogue and in the interpersonal dynamics between the characters, we're getting a lot more callbacks to previous actions. It seems that Y&R is very aware of itself right now, and that is something that we can certainly compliment them for. This is funny. Ellen says, "Aw, Victor is in Adam's phone as Dad. Should it be Pops?" It should be Pops. Ugh, Mark Grossman's Adam is the only one who has ever called Victor Pops. It's just the worst. It drives me nuts. I hate it when he says it. I bet Victor hates it when Adam says that, and in that way, it's perfect. But you're right. It should be Pops in Adam's phone. Oh, Daisy says, I am going to laugh hysterically if Victor finds out what Victoria did and then removes her as CEO and replaces her with Adam. How funny would that be? You know what, Daisy? I could see that happening. I really can. Victoria could become disgraced while Victor at the same time is growing closer with Adam. And then once Chelsea is miraculously healed, Victor will want to give Newman Enterprises to Adam so that Adam can have a fresh start. I almost see it in the stars. Gary comments, Nature Girl Natural Beauty Chelsea looks good without all of the face paint, but I do notice a certain vacant look in her eye.
she's playing a stroke patient so well. It's remarkable because it's true. How hard must it be for an actress who's seasoned to sit there and play without any facial expressions, without any body expression? I mean, acting is also, I'm sure, a very physical job. I mean, you must be aware of your physicality in acting, and now here she is unable to use that part of her training, but she is doing it so well. And it's odd that you mentioned the kind of vacant look in her eye, because I mean, I know it's all we've got to go on, but it's there. It is there. Superplex says, Adam has guilt written all over his face. He sticks by Chelsea solely out of guilt when his real lady love is Sharon. Yeah, that makes me sad. If Adam really is pining for Sharon, loving Sharon, thinking about Sharon every night when he goes to sleep, and now he's guiltily being placed in the position of caretaker for Chelsea. Here's a question. If Chelsea's stroke hadn't happened, would Adam still be with her? Victoria says, here's hoping that Sharon puts out her counseling shingle in 2021. I would love to hear the innermost thoughts of Genoa's city residents. Ugh, that's exactly what Sharon needs. She needs a little office, and she needs to let people come into her office to talk about their problems. That is what the show needs, because that's where you can really, really dig into some intimate conversations and some really deep character study. I love that idea. I would like to put Faith on that roll call list, on Sharon's patient list for First Up 2021. T. Nicole says, I sure hope that Faith doesn't catch Sharon even talking to Adam, because if she does, this will surely make a bad situation way worse. I didn't really even think of it in those terms, T. Nicole, but you're right. If Faith sees not only Adam continuing to hang around, but then having this relationship with Sharon, even if it is just friendship, I think it could really send Faith spiraling down into a dangerous, dangerous place. She's already in a dangerous place. Leslie says, remember when overly precocious Faith annoyed a lot of us, or at least me? Well, thank goodness the writers didn't listen to me, because Olivia Allen Lind is killing it with her current storyline. Bravo to Olivia. Oh, I've never said her name out loud. Olivia, is that it? Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, she's doing a wonderful job. I like the Y&Rs digging into the character of Faith. I've turned around. I like Faith. I want more Faith. I really do. Can you even believe that from a couple years ago, that I'd be saying I want more Faith? T. Nicole says, I'm enjoying Abby and Chance's storyline. Part of me knows that Abby's jumping the gun, as that she and Chance haven't been trying for that long. But if the show takes this where I think they are, Abby and Chance dealing with infertility, then I think this is a great story to show couples struggling to get pregnant. Let's just hope that the show does the story well. I hope that too, T. Nicole. Oh! I do like how Abby is showing the way your mind processes what you are feeling. Little symptoms, and she's sure she's pregnant, and then the test comes back negative, and then she tries to justify the results that the test is more effective first in the morning, and the impatience of wanting to see that double blue line. It seems very human. Absolutely, T. Nicole. All of this seems very human. And I mean, I think that Y&R still has a primarily female audience. So I would say that this is probably also very relatable to the majority of their audience. That's why I want them to slow it up and actually show it. Because I have known a couple of people who had trouble conceiving, went through the whole process of fertility treatments, and I had a friend that it destroyed her marriage. It is just absolutely so much stress. I have another
another friend, though, who also went through the fertility treatments and ended up with twin boys. So, I mean, there's a range of results here, and it's just so common that it's a really great opportunity to tell this story. It's just, like you said, I had to snark and laugh a little bit here because it's like I just am yearning for Y&R to get it right, and so far they're close. I just need us to slow it up. Victoria says, I love that Mariah worked to help lift Abby up. It was great to see her and Tessa together, and then watching them having fun. Next, Lola brought out the chocolate, which was a recipe for a fun distraction. Nowadays, too often we see people bringing others down. I'm glad that Y&R decided to lift someone up. Once again, this is something, Victoria, that Y&R has done really well in recent history. We got a lot of good girlfriends. We got a lot of girl time. We got a lot of little parties. We do have a lot of support and togetherness, and that's something that the show really didn't used to have. And for me, that's very welcome. I like seeing people get along. I like seeing people partying and having fun. That's entertaining to me. Other people entertaining themselves is entertaining to me. Like I said a couple weeks ago, it doesn't all have to be plot. It doesn't all have to be plot. Sometimes we can just have some fun. Sometimes we can just have some deep character study. I mean, it all should be working together and not heavy on any one part. Superplex also echoes what I was thinking, and that this feels like Melissa Ordway's own miracle pregnancy story. Yeah, and I've seen a couple other people mentioning that too, that it really does seem that it's mirroring what happened to Melissa. I'm sure that the actors don't have a ton of say in what storylines get done, but you never know. She could have put that out there as like, hey, this is something I went through. I think this would be really relevant. I mean, there must be a suggestion box somewhere at Y&R, and if that's the case, then the other thing too is they probably also know that they've got her real life husband waiting in the wings. He's already stepped in once. So it's also possible that they are thinking, okay, well, we know we want to keep Abby, and if something were to happen again, or if Danny decide not to come back, or who knows what, we've got this story that we can really tap into some emotional juice for, because it was a real life story between these two. Who knows? Has Melissa Ordway commented on that at all? That I would like to know. I'm surprised she hasn't done an interview maybe to talk about how this story relates to her own experience. I mean, that's good press. And in that way, Y&R might want to do it. Leslie says, I am done with all that after Mal used Dina to tell his mother's story. I feel bad for saying that, but I know it can be looked at as spreading awareness, but when done with the wrong characters at the wrong time, I hate it. I know that that's life, and it doesn't happen when and to whom we expect, but still, we've lost too much potential with Dina, and I want the Chancellor, Newman, Abbott, heir to have the family's blood. Leslie, that's kind of how I feel about Chelsea and Chelsea's situation, where it's like, I know that these types of stories can be done really well and that they can be used to raise awareness, but Sharon's cancer is a really good example of something that it just didn't work out that way. It just was handled so clunkily and in a lot of ways disrespectfully. And so, and Dina's Alzheimer, yes, this is another great example. These awareness type storylines have so much potential, but time and time again, I feel like this particular team has shown they're just not good at that. They want that dramatic moment. This team cares about the day's ratings, the week's ratings, the year's ratings, and they think that twists are the way to get there. And they're going to use anything they can, any vehicle they can, including medical issues that are serious and real and that the viewers might be dealing with right now. They're going to use that for plot, and I just think they're not always on mark with it. So I get what you're saying. I feel that way too. Well, about Sally and Jack here. Keisha says, I could totally see Sally and Jack pairing. I could also see Kyle in the mix. I know I'm showing my age, but I remember in the early 80s watching how Jill Foster blew up the Abbott family. She was married to John and sleeping with her stepson Jack. I remember one scene, John was at work at Jabot, and Jack was tossing his stepmommy dearest onto the dining room table. I was only 7, and I remember thinking, damn! Favorite comment of the week right there, Keisha. 7 years old. Poor John Abbott working away, toiling in the Jabot perfume mines. And then cut to Jack tossing Jill on the dining room table and little 7-year-old Keisha saying, damn. That's a real moment. But Keisha goes on to say, I can't see Jack going against Sally once the truth comes out. If anything, Summer exposing Sally could lead to Sally having a clean slate in Genoa City and calling it home. Y&R welcomed Courtney, Hope, Sally, along with her fan base. I can't see them tossing her aside. All this will do is cement her permanently onto the show. Absolutely big head wag, yes, Keisha. Courtney Hope ain't going nowhere. As you say, it seems like Bold and Beautiful didn't have a spot for her, but Y&R welcomed her and her fan base with, well, big open, wide open arms. They opened their arms for Courtney Hope as wide as Sharon has opened her heart widely many times for Adam. Daisy hitting here on something, though, that I think I feel the same about. Daisy says, honestly, what boss would ever let an employee talk about another employee like they're 15 years old and the boss is their dad? And rather than Sally possibly ending up dating Jack, I think it would be great to find out that she's Jack's daughter. Nailed it, Daisy. You absolutely just nailed it. I think I get father-daughter vibes from Jack and Sally more than romantic vibes. I don't know if it would end up moving into a paternity direction, but yeah, that's maybe closer to what I would imagine. At this point, yeah, I think it is fatherly. I think Jack feels that he's gotten some wisdom at this point in his life. I think he wants to impart it. I think Jack is someone who maybe wishes he would have done things a lot differently. I think Jack is at a point in his life where he's got some regrets. And so I think maybe he is trying to help other people avoid the same pitfalls and avoid having the same regrets when they get to his station of life. Well, let's talk about this crossover. Kamna says, I picked up on Bold and the Beautiful just in November and December. It started with me binging the classic episodes as I used to catch Bold and the Beautiful in the 80s and 90s. But once I did most of that, I tuned into some of the early Sally Spectra episodes when Courtney Hope announced that she was joining Y&R. I don't watch B&B as religiously as I do Y&R, mainly because their days drag for a week sometimes, but it's fun enough and just long enough for a quick treadmill walk. Yes, Bold and the Beautiful is bite-sized. Little 30-minute soap, bite-sized. But I agree, their days drag. I was watching Bold and the Beautiful for a good long stretch for a while, and ultimately that was the thing that killed it for me. I was just like, oh, is this ever gonna end? And they only always focus on maybe one main story and one sub-story. And if you happen to just not feel whatever that story is, you're stuck. It's either that or nothing. There's not a whole lot else going on that you can pick and choose from. But Marianne V says, I watch Bold and Beautiful every day. It was easy to get into it being a half hour. It's about the fashion industry in LA, which is interesting, and they do crossovers with Y&R. And they do crossovers with Y&R like the next 2 weeks, and it comes on right after Y&R. Oh yeah, here too, Marianne, that it helps that in my area it's Y&R from 11 to 12, then local news from 12 to 12:30, then Bold and the Beautiful from 12:31. It's just like a natural block of time to keep the TV on. Keisha says, I've been watching the Bold and the Beautiful since the beginning, so since the late 80s. I even operate a B&B fan page that has over 80,000 followers on Facebook. So yeah, I'm pretty deep into Y&R's sister soap. Will I be invested in this latest crossover event? Probably not. I would much rather see a Y&R B&B crossover surrounding CBS Daytime's most notorious villain, Sheila Carter. Wow, Keisha, so you run a Facebook page with more than 80,000 followers. You should let us know what that link is, first of all. And second of all, I would like to just imagine you at 7 years old watching The Young and the Restless and watching Jack toss his stepmommy down on that dining room table, and then that just solidified you as a soap fan, a vehement soap fan, just like me, for the rest of your life. It's like you see one thing, it draws you, and you're like, okay, I'll just stay here forever now. I'll just be watching this forever now. That had to have been a real life moment right there. That's great. Cool. Kathy says, like Y&R, I've watched Bold and the Beautiful from its onset. It's a pretty good soap, except for the last couple of years when they killed off Stephanie due to cancer. The Ridge character changed too, which took some getting used to. It was apparent that Ron Moss was stagnant in the role. The writers could have done better to have changed courses along the way. Things seem to be stuck in another merry-go-round for the last few weeks. Yeah, I think Bold and the Beautiful does get stuck, but I will say, I like the guy who plays Ridge. I like him better than I ever liked Ron Moss, but then again, I'm not an original Bold and the Beautiful fan. So actually, when Y&R recast the role of Ridge, which is like the main dude, the biggest dude on the main biggest dude on the Bold and the Beautiful, other than Eric, that was what got me. I was like, oh my gosh, I actually like Thorsten Kaye. He's nothing like the original Ridge, and I don't know, he's sexy. I like him. I like his gravelly voice. So yeah, I'm really into new Ridge. He was an appeal for me as a newer viewer. I had no awareness really of Bold and the Beautiful prior to, I mean, I was aware of it. Like you said, it's kind of on the same channel, but I never really followed the stories until maybe 5, 7, 8 years ago, just for a little bit. Well, let's end up on Sherrod here, who says, I was a regular watcher when Bold and the Beautiful first started, then I fell off, but I've become a more active watcher since the pandemic, and I began working from home. Yes! Sherrod, see, this is exactly what I was driving at last week. How can soap ratings be down when more people are at home? That doesn't make any sense to me, and I did double check that. I went just out of curiosity to see if soap ratings were down, and yeah, they're down a lot, like hundreds of thousands of viewers. So how is that possible when more people are at home? Shouldn't more people have the TV on? And if more people are home and still not watching Y&R and B&B, I mean, what's going on here? Does Y&R and B&B know that they're in trouble? Is it possible that this whole Bold and the Beautiful Y&R crossover event is not just for fun, but maybe they are trying to desperately scrap together an attempt to save our soaps? Let's hope not. I'll have to wear a t-shirt that says, save our soaps, and then maybe I'll start a petition or a strongly worded letter. Gosh, I don't know what I would do if Y&R went away. I don't know what I would do. What would I do with all of my extra time? Maybe I would take up embroidery. Oh goodness, there's a question. What would you do with your time if Y&R was not around? My goodness. I mean, for everybody, it's at least 5 hours a week. For me, it's double or triple that. I truly do not know what I would do. But if you do, you should go to yrchat.com to let me know. Let me know what you're thinking about this whole issue of the soap ratings. Let me know what you're thinking about the crossover event, because we should get 2 more episodes on B&B, Monday, Tuesday, and then another episode on Thursday on Y&R. So let me know how you're feeling about the crossover. Let me know how you're feeling about all these other storylines. Go vote in that poll. Check out all the other stuff that I put there. I screen cap a million screen caps for you every single week there at the website, so I hope that you guys look at them and enjoy them. And I hope you come back next week to chat again about our favorite show, still tugging along. Still tugging and chugging along after all these years. My God, you never know who's going to toss somebody onto a table and make love to them. That's all it takes. You know what we need is more 7-year-olds watching this show. That's the future. Oh, goodness. I love you guys. Take care and have a good week. I'll see you next Sunday.